So I bet you that there's a 99% chance whenever you're sound designing, you do it all in the mids, and then at the end you either forget to widen your sound or you'll add widening effects like a chorus, which you can see in like the back of Serum. A lot of people, they'll sound design here and it'll be mono, and then they'll go in there, add hyper and dimension, they'll add some chorus, they'll just click click click, and you can do that and you'll get a pretty decent sound, but you won't have full control of the width. And what I'm going to show you is the best way to have total control of your width, to have it, in fact, it's the widest you can get while retaining mono compatibility. And I'm so shocked no one's talked about this on YouTube yet, because this is so important. Ever since I've done this, my sounds are so wide and no one can handle my sound design. Let's start by opening up Serum, and while you do that, I'm going to tell you the best way to have mono-compatible yet super wide sounds and to maximize that concept is to bake the width into the sound design at the beginning. Instead of using stereo widening plugins like, Imager or Chorus like we talked about earlier, you want to literally create information in the sides from the beginning. To really hammer in this example, I'm going to show you how to make the absolute best fog horns. Fog horns are an iconic sound design. They're in so many different genres. You've heard in drum and bass, that's for sure, but they're really everywhere. I've heard every single one of my favorite artists use fog horns to a certain degree. And what makes a fog horn really is the envelope. That's what gives it that impression. So it's kind of a long process. There's a few things to do. It's not really possible to put it all into one Serum patch, unfortunately. In fact, maybe, but you wouldn't have that much control. So it's 2 Serum patches, and then you need some group processing. So it's a bit of a long process, but you will have crazy fog horns. To do that, let's start by making a circle. When you have your initial preset on Serum, you're going to notice that the phase and the random and the panning is not going to be what I have here. So go ahead and make sure that you set your level to whatever. It doesn't matter as long as both oscillator A and oscillator B have the same amount. If they're slightly different and you're not sure, you can just hold Control key and click on it and it'll restore to the default setting. So now I'm sure that they're both at the same level. We're going to make sure we turn random off for both oscillators. And we're going to pan the left oscillator to the left and the right oscillator to the right. The last step that you need to do, aside from making sure you pull up a sine wave, is have one of the phase at 0 degrees and the other at 90. If you do that, you should get our first circle. You don't need anything in the effects, by the way. Once you have your circle, we're going to make a G0 or F0 as the sub. So I'm going to go in here and we're going to do F0. As you can see, because we set this phasing to 90 degrees, we're going to have a maximum amount of information in the mids and in the sides. So I'm going to start it at 0 degrees where it's only mono, there's no information on the sides. Even though we're panning left and right, since the sound is the same, the exact same in both the left and right audio channels, it just sounds like it's dead center, and so it's perfectly mono. As you can see down here in the mids, we have our F0, but there's nothing on the sides, even though we're panned left and right. What changing the phasing does is it allows you to have the same sound on both the left and right channel, except when you change the phasing, they don't line up. The sine waves don't line up exactly the same. So you hear them independently, even though they sound the same. It's confusing, and I have a graph to show you after this, but really we're not going to go much deeper than that. So look at what happens as I increase the phase from 0 to 90 degrees. Look at the side here. And now look at what happens as I go from 90 to 180 degrees. Here's what it looks like in terms of the circle. The more mono information you have, the more the circle will be long, and the more side information, the more the circle will be wide. So when you're making sound design and for the purpose of making a banger, you want to get a circle because that is the maximum amount of mid and side information possible. And as you can kind of presume already, as we get multiple sine waves and we run them through some saturators and distorters, we're going to get some of the really, really cool sound we want. And you're going to see the difference, how when you collapse it all, it's perfectly mono. And when it's not mono, oh my God, it's like a giant sound. So we made our F0. Now we're going to duplicate that channel. They're both F0s right now. We're going to make the second one an F3, let's say. And we're going to group them. So now we have two super wide sine waves. And it makes a really cool shape. You can have a lot of fun with the shape. You guys can go to town on those. So as you can imagine, we're going to add some saturation and distortion. I highly recommend these two plugins, Decapitator and Trash. And most likely, if you're advanced, you probably have had them. They've been really popular for a long time. So Trash is like distortion heaven. You can do pretty much anything you want to a sound and get like the coolest textures ever. So experiment with that a little bit. I mean, just the shapes alone are super sick, let alone the fact that you have like a super wide, insane bass sound. By the way, leave a like. Make sure to stream my music. It's really the only way to give back to me is to like give me some streams, leave a comment on my SoundCloud stuff, leave a like, let it play overnight and don't listen to it, you know, the usual. So anyway. Honestly, you have infinite cool sounds now, but we're barely getting started. Now these make great sustained basses and they're good as is almost. There's plenty to do to them to make sure we're good because as you can imagine, there's some sub purists out there that hate the idea of side information in the subs, and so you would have to clean that up, and I can show you guys how to do that. But for the intents and purposes of a foghorn, remember that I said the envelope is what makes that sound. So we're going to grab a utility and make sure to put it on the higher sine wave. So for us, that's going to be the bottom one here. What we're going to do is we're going to start it at 0. I'm going to have it be this long just for the demonstration. And let's go ahead and have it go up to 0 right in the middle and then back down and see what that sounds like. Already you got a really cool bass hit that you could start your drop with, whoom, and then wah, 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 and a whoop, you know? And by the way, if you hear like a clicking sound, you can just put a utility on the main group and then find where the click is. I would recommend just straight up recording the sound and listening for that click. And then at that point, you just remove utility. That's what's so funny, like with all these crazy gadgets, the old school way of just like raising the volume really just wins every time. So I would highly recommend straight up just using utility. You could do it for side chaining. You can do it for pretty much anything. I think if we want like a short little foghorn, an important thing to note here is that how high you go is how saturated the sound's going to be. For example, let's go all the way up here. Let's see what's happening. There's less frequencies now, and I'm going to increase it. There's going to be more frequencies. So you now have complete control of how much harmonic frequency your sound has and how wide it is. Let's make sure though, because you can't just like, I'm some random dude on YouTube, right? So we're going to put in mono and make sure I'm not full of crap. Hopefully it sounds close to what we want. That is literally the same sound, but mono. Now you will notice a big difference. And the big difference is that there's a lot of side information and it's just gone. So in terms of like impact, it sounds completely different, right? There's the white sound that sounds extremely loud and then the mono sound that sounds really soft. And I'll show you again. Damn, bro. I love the mono compatibility on this. I geek out on this stuff, dude. But as you can see, It's perfectly mono. And by the way, now that you saw this amazing little trick, there's still more. I'm going to show you how to have long sustained ones and all that good stuff, and then we're going to do some sound design at the end. But if you love this, I highly recommend doing music retreats. Make sure that it's with people that are in the same genre of music as you. It's fun no matter what. You don't even have to go and like learn and like do all kinds of stuff like that. You don't have to push yourself and like, you know, get to new levels and stuff. You just chill with the homies and be bathe in the energy of like music making. But if you go to some kind of like music retreat, or you just rent out an Airbnb with some friends and you make sure you have one homie there that knows a lot, dude, that's the best way to level up by far. I've done it like 3-4 times now. Every time I leave, I come back like the next level Super Saiyan when it comes to my skill as a producer, sound design game, passion. Like I come back so inspired, and especially if you have several people there that are really good, it's done. I've even become so obsessed with it that I'm trying to make my place like a music retreat place to host people. And honestly, my dream is to just be in that environment half the year straight up. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, there's a Google form in the description. Highly recommend you put your name down. It's literally free. And that way I'll kind of know that's something you're interested in. I can reach out in the future and be like, hey man, my friends and I are going here. Do you want to join us? That kind of stuff. MIDI go really long. We're going to extend this. We're going to see what that sounds like. Let's have it get more intense over time. Ooh. And then we could maybe have it chill out towards the end. So as you can see, the possibilities are endless now. You can kind of cater this to however you would want your foghorn to sound like. You could even make really cool like bass pattern. Ew, we forgot to not make it mono. And then let's see what it looks like. That's like the most fun part. Alright, I just want to look at that. It's beautiful, dude. Notice that it's really wide. Like, it arises a question of what about it is wide? Why is it so wide? And the reason why is because there's information in the side. So look at what happens to the sound whenever we scoop out just the sub sine wave. You know, it's not an absolute science. First of all, I'm gonna be honest, like a lot of the time I don't do anything down here, man. And like my shit's super loud and no one talks about, oh, I hear that there's side information in your sub. So I don't think it matters. I think I'm very much if it sounds good, you're good kind of guy. But if you're that scared of it, I recommend just scooping out the sub sine wave. So we're gonna scoop it out. And then I would maybe just like tone it down as much as you want down here, so. And then I would test the sound, you know? I would compare A and B, so here's how we originally had it. There you go. You know, you feel safer. You still have a really wide foghorn. And all we really needed here were sine waves. You can get that wherever you want. And then the magic sauce really is the type of distortion you run it through. Let's go through the comments and let's see what sound design we're trying to make today. I literally never check ahead of time, so let's hope it's not too hard. I try to make it like on the spot. By the way, I just released a track called Big Man Blastoise, so if you guys want to go check out the tutorial for that, please do. Yo, that's so cool. How you think those basses in Blop Mushrooms at 240 are made? Sheesh. Alright, let's see what we got. So Blop Mushroom 240. Alright. But see how like random, you gotta turn that off. Phasing all the way down. And then And I feel like that's close enough, man. If you want the notes, it's F, and then you go one octave higher to F, and then F again, and then F sharp, and then back to F. It's something like that. So yeah, if you love science-based, really helpful hints in regards to specifically making bangers and like bass music and stuff, definitely subscribe. That's what I plan to make this whole channel about. I love sound design. I love, you know, all genres of EDM. And yeah, make sure to follow me on Instagram. Don't forget to check out my music, SoundCloud. I go by Ambition, AMBSHN. It's Ambition Official on Instagram. Fill out the Google form, leave a like, subscribe. And thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.